In this video, I'm going to show you an overview of the analytics section. For this, I'll be using a dummy account that has some data, but is not an actual client. First, I'll start with the module metrics page. You can view this as the traffic and engagement, and by engagement we mean any user interaction with your Storybox display module. That's a click. It could be scrolling left or right, submitting content, clicking on a content, clicking through to a product, any active engagement. It does not include hoverovers. So let's start at the bottom of the page. Daily visits. So in this account, I see how many people visit a page with a Storybox display module. The average over the amount of time, 163 a day, and we compare it to the previous time period. Right now I'm looking at 30 days, so it's comparing the last 30 days to the 30 days before that. I can look through on the graph. I can see it in a little bit more graphical representation. If I click on this, I can see just the current period, the current 30 days. I could see just the previous 30 days, and I can see both of them together. As I scroll up, it gets a little bit more interesting because now we're looking at engagements. We're looking at how many people clicked on this. So we can see that 4,000 people engaged. That's 82% of page traffic interacting with one of the display modules, which is really good. We can see that that's a 12% increase over the previous 30 days. Same thing, it's all graphical. If I want to play around right here, I can download the CSV if I want to manipulate this data in a spreadsheet. I can look by specific modules if I want to see, like, let's say a home page or a product detail page module, and I can alter the time period. Now this next module, well, let me click there first. So for sales modules to work, or the sales metrics to work, you're going to have to install one JavaScript code on your site. Let me go through first of all the reason to do that, because there is so much data we can give you if you just install this one tracking pixel. So revenue impressions is saying, look, for every page on which you've displayed a Storybox display module, how much sales is that page seeing? So the revenue impression is for your entire site, any page that has a Storybox display module. Versus the interaction revenue is going to be, okay, for someone who clicks on a module, what's their purchasing behavior? Because we want to compare these two, someone who doesn't interact versus someone who does interact. And that we'll use that to give you a percent sales interacted. You can use this as a way of saying how, when people interact with Storybox content, how much more likely they are to convert. It's the exact same thing for the number of sales from people who are exposed to a display module, those who interact with the display module, and the overall percentage. Same thing for average order value. On a page with a display module, what's the average order value versus someone who actually interacts with our content, and a change in average order value. If you ever see that any of these stats are particularly low, you might want to see where the placement of our display module is. I'm betting that if the interaction rate is low, it's because we're at the bottom of a page that gets a lot of traffic. So if you bump up the priority, bump up the visibility, that'll change it. And then lastly, we look at conversion rate, so how likely people are to convert when they're exposed to a display module, when they interact with the display module, and how that impacts how that increases the conversion rate. Now, before I move on to the other portions here, let me show you how to install this conversion tracking code. You can do this within the Get Code section of settings. You can also get it within your display modules on any of the get codes for your display modules. But when I click here, you can see that as I scroll down, you'll see something called a conversion tracking embed code. You can copy this and send it to your developer. They're going to need to install a couple things. They just place this on a post-purchase page or a newsletter sign-up page, whatever you consider conversion success. And if they tie this in correctly, we're going to be able to track all of the sales, average order value, and actual products sold, which is the next section I'm going to show you. But in order for this to all work right, you really need to make sure that you get this conversion tracking embed code installed right away. And you can even set that up during a free trial of your account. So back over here on analytics, the next page is product metrics. So this is just looking at your data from a different perspective. We're going to look at every product in your inventory. We're going to look at how many views it gets, how many clicks it gets, and how many sales it drives. And again, the conversion tracker is not installed, so this is not going to reflect accurately. I can search for specific products. I can download the CSV if I want to look at this further. Content by channel is just going to be looking at, of all your content, where are you getting your content from? So if I looked in the last 90 days in this test account, I'm going to see for the content that I've approved, where is that content coming from? And it looks like the vast majority in this test account is coming from Instagram, and then a few numbers that were submitted directly on site. So this is just a way to get a sense for the content that's on your site, where it came from. And again, I can look at this by module, I can download a CSV or even a PDF of this. The very last analytics view is going to be around individual metrics. So we're going to look at each and every photo and video on your site and try and give you a sense of which content is performing, which has gotten the most views, clicks, click-through rates, and sales. And if you have voting enabled for contesting, you can use that. Why this is so important is if you're thinking of putting, let's say, a user-generated photo in an email campaign, in a print campaign, as part of a newsletter, as part of a particular bulletin, this might give you an indication of what content is performing. I could share this on Facebook, I could share it on Twitter, I could get a link to put in an email, but our goal here is to help you understand what content is really performing.